Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the live stream today. I'm John, I'm the Developer Engagement Manager at Zite, and I'm going to be showcasing a bit more about our VS Code extension for building Scrapy spiders utilizing AI in Copilot in this instance. So welcome in everybody. I'm just going to give it another minute just so we all get situated and I can just make sure that my audio and everything is working, and we'll get going. Right. So I have my code editor open here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the whole process, and I'm going to build this out as if I would a project that I was going to build. And we're going to try and do a few different websites within the same Scrapy project because they're going to match the same kind of item type, and we'll build out from there. And we'll talk about there's a new feature which is enabled, but it doesn't quite work properly with the agent yet, but I was really excited that it was in there and it works, which is the browser rendering part. So I'll show you a bit of that as well, and we'll explain the little bit that we need to do just to make it work a little bit better. But it does work at the moment, so I'll show you that once we get going. I just need to check. Perfect. Cool. Right. So I have the extension installed. If you don't, you just need to go to the extensions tab and just search for web scraping Copilot, and you'll find it up here. This is it here. So yeah, this talks about all and everything that you need to do to make the agent, the setup for the MCP server, and make sure everything's working. It talks a little bit about some of the requirements too. So UV, for example. I highly recommend UV. It's a great alternative to pip and VMV. So yeah, we'll be using that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open my terminal, and we're going to start building. So I'm going to do UV init because I want to create a new project here, and then I'm going to do UV add, and all of these things is what I'm going to be adding. So I'm going to be adding Scrapy Poet, which is obviously necessary for the extension to work. It's a great Python library in itself, one that we built and use for everything, and obviously it's required. It separates the parsing logic from the extraction logic. I'm going to install Scrapy Zite API as well. We're going to be using that, although you don't need it if you're using with the extension. That's up to you. It's however you choose to do all the band protection stuff that you need to do in your Scrapy project. I'm going to use the Zite API. Zite common items I probably don't think I'm going to use in this one, but I might do. Never know. PyTest because we're going to be using testing. We're going to test our fixtures, and Price Parser because it's super useful for helping to create parsing out of the prices from strings and all that sort of good stuff. So let's get that installed super fast, and then we can do our source VMV activate. Cool. Let's create our Scrapy project in this folder, please. Perfect. And let's generate our spider. Gen spider. Cool. Let me just get my other window up over here. So this is the demo site that we're going to be scraping. This is like a site that I built. This is the very standard one. We're going to do a few different ones, but this one's pretty straightforward. There's pagination and there's products, right? It's not a lot to see. It's designed just for practicing scraping, and I've used it a lot for this extension as well as various other things. So I will just show you that and then just move this out of the way over here. And I'm going to grab a product URL. One second, sorry. Okay, right. Let's copy this URL. So what we need to do is we need to change some of our settings for our Scrapy project first, because the defaults aren't going to work for us. I'm going to change this to false because this is my test site. There isn't even one there, and we'll make the concurrency nice because again it's my site. Cool. Right, so a couple of things we need to enable now. Modern Scrapy uses the add-ons approach for all of this stuff, which makes it very, very easy. So we can just do Scrapy Poet like this, enable the whole thing, .add-on, and this will basically enable everything that we need, and Scrapy Site API .add-on as well. One more thing, which is the Scrapy Poet Discover. So this is so it knows where the folder is that we're going to be base.pages, where we're going to be saving the page objects that get created. You can get the extension to do all this for you, but obviously because I've done this so many times, it's quicker for me to do it. But if you're not sure, the extension will check everything for you and make sure it's all set up, so you don't have to worry. If you're not used to Scrapy Poet, it will do it for you, and it will show you, and it will create everything for you. So if you're new to it, don't worry, you're not going to have a problem there. So now that that's done, we want to create an item. Now again, I could prompt for this, or I could use the Site Common Items product, but I'm going to build out my own item in this case, and I'm going to use attrs for that. Now modern Scrapy, you can use Scrapy items, you can use attrs, you can use data classes. I think you can use Pydantic as well. I prefer attrs just because it's what I've used for a while, so I'm kind of used to it. For this instance, it doesn't really matter, but I would recommend either attrs or data classes if you're still undecided. And I'm going to call this product item, and that will be fine. Or remove stock, because we're not going to do that. We will just, let me just get this open so I can see. Right, so SKU is obviously going to be a useful one. We don't want in stock. That's not really useful on this site. We can do category and brand, and then the URL of the product. That's always useful. And I think that's probably going to be it in this instance. There is a GTIM field as well. We can put that in as well. Okay, I don't need all of that, thank you. Cool. That'll do for the moment. We'll work with this, no problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the extension button that we've got here. So we got over here. And this is going to basically help you out with getting everything set up. So I'm going to do check again. We can see that it's checked and it knows that we've got everything. Again, you can do review setup, or you can get the agent to do it for you as well. And I'm going to come over here. We've got Site API, and it's going to check that you're set up with this. Now, again, you don't need Site API. I'm using it. It's going to tell me that it's going to be using it. So that's entirely up to you. You have the spider, which will show you here, which will come up, and the page object and the items as well. So we can see that I've got custom schemas. That's why I mentioned you can use our schemas if you want to, but I'm using custom ones in this instance. So this is like a nice handy way just to kind of see everything. So I'm going to start working with this now, and I'm going to change this down here to web scraping. I'm going to try Gemini 3 Pro preview, but I had some issues with it just earlier where it was timing out, so we shall see. And if it does, I'll just drop back down to 2.5 Pro, or we could try one of the new GPT codex ones too. So what we're going to do is we want to create a page object. So I'm going to say create a page object for the item, and I've called this product item using the sample URL of this. I'm going to hit enter. So for this to work, it needs a sample URL. It needs to be able to make sure everything's all set up. So it's going to run through the testing, and it's going to need to make sure that it can, have the pages that it can create the page object in. So it's going to create a to-do list. We can see down here, we can see here's the checking of the status, and then creating the empty page object, which is going through, then the test fixture. So with the test fixture, it's going to take the sample URL, and it's going to use your Scrapy settings and your Scrapy project to download the HTML from that page, and then it saves it into this fixtures file here, and we can see that here. This is what's then used to work out what information from our schema, from our item we actually want, and then it's also going to use to generate the selectors for that, so it can then compare the two, and that's where our testing comes in. You can see we're on updating page code and expectations. So if I come back over to our output, we can see this is our schema, these are our item fields. At the moment they're null. This, through our MCP server, which is local, doesn't come back to us in any way, is going to work out what these fields should be based on this page, based on our instructions, etc. And then it's going to generate the the CSS selectors or whatever it's going to use to actually extract that information. And from there, it's going to be able to then test that against it. So if you have issues, what you can do is you can actually just come in here and say, well, this should be this instead. And then you can work it that way. It's not something I've had to do much of, so it's been pretty good in this respect. Here's our base page object. We can see here, handle URLs, product item page. Again, this is all generated by the agent, so we didn't need to build any of this. And you can see it's got all our fields here, and it's just going to work through. Depending on how many how many item points in your schema, you will have, might take a little bit longer, but generally it's pretty quick. And Gemini 3.0 Pro is doing a pretty good job at the moment too, so that's pretty handy. Cool. So now it's going to change everything here, so we should have this come up in just a second, replacing it. The thinking bit is I find quite interesting. Cool, so there we go. So that looks about right to me. Yeah. Let's move this a bit further out so we can see what's going on. So we're still updating the page code expectations, so it should be now adding into the page object here what the parsing logic is going to be, and now it's going to run the test. So we'll allow it to run the test in the terminal. If I move this up here, we can see we have a test per field, 8 passed, which means based on the information from our sample page, this code that it's generated will get the data out that we want. So this has saved us a load of time. We haven't had to look at the web page at all, really, just to get some URLs and to have a quick cursory check. We haven't had to worry about, I don't know, figuring out selectors or getting it wrong. And it's all testable. So that means if something changes, you can run these tests. And if I come over here, we should have these now in these page objects here. So you can run the tests anytime you like, and it will then figure out, if any fail, you can then either start the process again, or you can just iterate with it to get help. Now, one of the things that we've built into this recently is we wanted to stop the issue where the LLMs keep iterating over and over and over and over again and digging themselves bigger holes. So when some of your tests fail, we have strict instructions in there now that will say, after, I can't remember how many times, maybe 2 or 3 times, it basically says, hey, I can't work this out. I'm going to leave it here and you'll need to go and figure this bit out for yourself. So it just stops it changing the code over and over and over again and leaving you with a mess of stuff that you have to go back and undo. It will tell you where it got to, and it will say, this is what I've done. You'll need to go and find the right selector for this field now, which is pretty standard, and it's quite a useful thing to have. But of course, we don't just scrape one page. We do multiple ones. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go here and I'm going to create a new item class. We'll call this a list page. Product URLs, next page URL should be good, like that. We don't need the URL of the one that we're on, I suppose. So what I'm going to do is we're going to save that. Now, generally speaking, we recommend to start a new chat per page object, but this one's quite small, and so is this one. So I'm going to just go with the same chat. But I'm going to say create a new page object for the item list page using the sample URL of this. Now it's going to download that main page, and we're going to go through the process again. We should have the same checks going through. We should have the same to-dos, which is good because we can understand where it's at and we can see where it gets stuck if it does at all. And it's going to build out a new page object for us that we can go through this page. So you can see how you can very easily and structurally build this up. I'm going to show you how it integrates with the spider in just a minute. I want to just make sure that this goes through properly, and we can talk about it if we need to. But this is where this method we can start to build one spider that handles multiple pages. And you can get really, like, there's an awful lot of configuration and stuff that you can do, which means you can really expand on this. Personally, for me, I've only gone as far as, building out one spider, which is essentially just like an ecom spider, and I can give it multiple different websites and pages within one spider, because I'm using the same items and the same schema, because it all fits together neatly. But you don't have to do that. You can do more with Scrapy Poet as well. I'm just going to let this finish and just double check that everything works here, and we'll move on to the spider, and then we'll add more sites, etc., etc. So it should be one Python file per domain. So that's working here. We can see that's got it in here, so that should be fine. Some of my other sites are on the same domain, they're just subdomains, so it'll probably try and stick them in here as well, but we can handle that, it's not a problem. Again, here's our web page, only 2 fields this time. We have now our second fixture for our product page. Cool, and this is going to just figure out how to get me a list of URLs and the next page, so we can then build out our spider. So let's just let this work. If you have any questions, by all means, drop them in the chat. And I know Lakshay's floating around. He'll be able to answer them if I don't see them in time. We are live on YouTube and LinkedIn as well, by the way. So if you don't follow us on either of those platforms, then I'd recommend it. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and there'll be more live streaming too, assuming that this one goes all right and I don't look back on it and wonder what the hell I was doing. Cool, so this is working. It's taking a little bit longer on this one, which is interesting. I think there we go, it's done. Perfect. Cool, that looks right to me. So we'll just let it add the selectors in here. So I did mention with the spider, we are going to need to build this out to handle multiple different websites and different pages. And because we're using our, let's just run the test fixtures, 4 pass, perfect. So my test coverage is good in this instance. And because we're doing because we're using Scrapy Poet, I lost my train of thought then, we can do this ever so slightly differently, right? So I'm going to import my items. We're going to import our product item, our list page is what I called it. And we're going to get rid of all of this. Nope, we'll get rid of that too. So I'm going to say that my start URL is going to be this one. And just put this in here. Cool. So with previously with Scrapy, you would do something like start request, like it's showing me here, and then maybe you would run through all the parsing and everything in the spider. But obviously we've done that separately in our page objects, and modern Scrapy is now asynchronous, so we can do async def start, and we can do it like this. So start is the async version of start requests. It will just look for the URLs to start with and go for it there. So we have Scrapy request. We're doing a callback to pass list page, so we are going to need to create that pass list page, and this is going to be our response, and then our page is going to be equal to the list page item. I'm just going to accept all of this blindly and hope that it's right. Let's have a quick look through. So what we're saying here is, if I get rid of the file thing, we don't need that. So we're going, we need this, yeah. So it likes to do scrapy.request here, but because we have the response object, we can do response.follow, and this will sort out any URLs if there are like partial URLs or like not absolutes. So that's going to do that. So for every one of these, I'm going to find this. We're going to go through here, product URL, product URL. So we just need to pass product page, so we can do that. There we are. And we don't need the response in here, so I can just back that out. So that's essentially our whole spider. because we've moved all of the logic out for parsing into the page objects, and then we've had the agent and the AI build all that for us, our part here is actually very simple. And because we don't have any website specific logic in this spider, we can now utilize this spider for many different pages. We just have to, we're going to use the same items, but you can also configure Scrapy Poet to use different items and all that as well, which is going to be outside the scope of this. So what I'm going to do is we're going to come back to our terminal. There's probably something I've missed, so we will see what that is. Scrapy crawl products. Looks good to me. Should be quicker than this. Have I done something wrong? Could be my server. Come back to our settings. Did I miss any? Let me check. Okay, there we go. It's just hanging up on my server a little bit. That's what you get for running your test websites on a, well, $5 VPS. But we can see this is working. We're going to go through all the pages. And here we have our response, our information. Scrape count is 115, which is the right amount of items. That's the total ones on this website. And if we come down here, we can see our Scrapy site API information, and we should also have the poet as well. So we can see that we went through 13 lots of the list page and 115 on the product item, right? So that's one website. We can definitely do more. We can do multiple sites. So I'm going to create a new chat for this. I'm going to do no. I'm going to close this up. We'll just focus on the items, and we'll clear this up as well. So let me just find my other website. It looks like this. Very similar again, just slightly different information. So it's not, you're not missing out on anything. It's basically the same kind of thing. Just need to find one that's got, yeah. Cool. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how very easy it is just to add a whole new website. So let's move over. Yeah. Web scraping, still on 3PO. So we'll do create a page object for the item, product item, using sample URL of this one. Now we just have to go through the whole process again. It's only going to take a few minutes, and it's going to build out another page item for us. It should use a new, it's got a new domain, so it will be a new file, and it's going to figure out and it's going to create all of that for us. And because we're using the same items, we are going to be using the same spider. So we don't have to change anything here other than start URLs. So here's our page object. So whilst this is working, I want to talk about one of the new things that we've added in, but we're just waiting to get it all configured in a little bit neater. And that's to use browser rendering through Site API. So previously, you kind of had to you had to do a few little workarounds to get it, and it wasn't ideal. But within these page objects, instead of web page, you can actually call in browser page. So if I was to import this browser page, and by changing web page to browser page, it's then going to tell the Site API that it needs to use the browser to render, and it will actually use a browser through the Site API to actually build that out and then get that information back. Now at the moment, the agent doesn't quite know about this properly, so it trips over a little bit when you try to change it. But if I was to change these and run them again through the Site API, it would use browser rendering on the back end. Now that's all well and good, but obviously we have a lot of extra things, which I'm going to show you in a minute over here. We have lots of other things that you can do through the Site API when it comes to talking about browsers, like for example, actions. Now, if I find the one that is probably going to be the most useful to most people, which is scroll down. Let's scroll to the bottom. Scroll bottom. We can see that it'll show us how to, call these actions. But we don't want to call these on a spider basis. We want to call this on a page object basis. So what we can do is, if I just get this out, I just need to do this on the other screen, sorry. Yeah, so what we can do is we can actually, within our page object, I believe we can call browser actions. So this is our page object here, which is what I've got here. We can call actions and we can then ask for this. And this will be specific to these page objects. So within this page object system, you can build this out to now render HTML through the browser and also scroll to the bottom of a page if you need to, like infinite scroll and stuff like that, or whenever you need to do some kind of action on the page. Maybe you need to hover or click on something to show the information when it's being rendered out. So that's going to come in a demo that I'm going to do for the YouTube channel. So if you want to see me go through this and work that out on an infinite scroll page in the same kind of way, then subscribe to the YouTube channel and I will get that up hopefully by the end of the week, so you can see it there. Right, so back to this. It's just been working in the background whilst I've been talking, and we have our new page object here for the new website. 8 passed, perfect. So I'm just going to go back and do the same thing again. List page, sample URL, this, and we'll let it do this through now. We'll just let it run through this. I'm going to go one step out just so it's a bit easier for me to work on this. Hopefully it's still readable. It should be straightforward enough. So the testing part has just been like, it's been so useful. You just go back to your spiders if they stop working, and you just rerun it and just rerun the test and then generate new fixtures, new page objects, and it's so useful. It's something that I think a lot of people miss when they're building out scrapers initially. Miss out the whole kind of like testing part. Now obviously I'm doing HTML pages here. Now if we were to use the rendering through the browser page, then we would have HTML as well, but there's obviously a lot of cases where you don't need to pass the HTML because maybe it's server-side rendered and it has like all the JSON data and the script tags. Well, because it's still on the page that the agent and the web scraping copilot's seeing, it will quite often use that. So if you have a look at the page and you can see maybe it's like there's the script tags which are like next data and they've got all that information there, it will use that information to try and it will pull it out, and you'll quite often see that in your code. And it can be, if you're not expecting it, because if you haven't looked at the page and you've just kind of gone, I'll just let it sort it out, then you'll see a lot of JSON stuff going on, which is it's pretty cool. It'll just do what it can to get the information out. So we're nearly done with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my spider again, and we're going to create URLs here, and we're going to add in this one that we've been working on, which I closed. Which one was it? This one. There we are. There we go. Let's run the test on this. Passed. Great. Cool. So let's try. I've added this in now. So let's do. In fact, I'll show you through. Like, I'm so used to just typing this through here, but you can also come through this the button here, and you can go. We move this down. Spiders. Click on this. Click run, and then you can run it with the -o output dot JSON, for example, and hit run, and it'll do it for you. Okay. What did we get wrong? We changed that, but we didn't change this. There we go. Perfect. Cool. So now we are running through, and I can see different URLs coming up here. I'm pretty sure I added the URL to the item, so we'll be able to see it at the end. I don't remember how many pages, how many items are on this one. 75. So we should end up with about 200-ish items altogether. All from, well, both from two different websites, utilizing the same item schema and the same spider, and all of the parsing logic was written by the AI agent using our web scraping copilot VS Code extension. And here's our output. And this got messed up because I did it once when it was blank, but we can just see here different URLs for the different items. And we ended up with like 190, which, yeah, it just seems, which is right. I don't need to save that. Again, if I come up, we can see here, this is a very useful part. It shows you which pages were being used and which items, so you can kind of figure out what was going on. But yeah, so this is this is basically it. This is how to get started and how to utilize the VS Code extension with web scraping copilot. This is how we build our spiders now with Scrapy, utilizing this AI a lot. Model wise, we used to recommend at least GPT-5 Mini. Now, obviously, you need a GitHub Copilot subscription or an API key for your own, for whatever model you're using. I've just got the basic, GitHub script subscription, which I think is like $10 a month. We used to recommend GPT-5 Mini. I found that will work, and it's not bad, but it's not great. I really do recommend the premium models. I've had really good success with 2.5 Pro, and now 3 Pro I think is just that little bit better. And in fact, we did a bit of analysis on it when it was about a week old. So there's a link on our page to our blog, which has got a bit of a write-up, which was done by our head of data science and R&D. So that was interesting. I've also used briefly 5.1 Codex, which was very good as well, and Claude Opus 4.5 Preview, which is what I wanted to use. It's gone up to 3x rate, so I thought, it's kind of a bit much for this. We'll just stick to the 1x. So 3 Pro, 2.5 Pro were my favorites so far for the models. And when you install the extension, you need to make sure that you do go through and read what's on the extension page here. It talks about the to-do list, which is important, because it might not do this if you don't have this set up. And it runs through how to install it. And it talks about the MCP server. So if I come here and show you list servers, configure model access, and this is where you can allow the MCP server to use the different models. So I've got these ones ticked here, and it will just use the one that you've got using here. So it's it's definitely worth going. So basically, I wanted to show you this because we really want you to give this a go. You can see that we're up to nearly 1,000 installs. We really want your feedback. So have a go through this. There's plenty of documentation on the Zeit docs as well that give you like a basic project to run through. There's YouTube channel videos as well that will cover this live stream, which will be stored on YouTube Live on YouTube as well. So you can go through this, use the test sites or use your own sites, and let us know how you get on and try it with any of your projects or build something and let us know. We really would appreciate the feedback because we want to know how people are using it so we can tailor it to make it better for everybody, because this is something that we really do believe in and we want to expand on and really push it out there for everyone to use. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this. Make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to YouTube. There'll be more stuff like this coming up. There'll be more lives coming up too, but we'll do events and everything like that. So stay tuned, and thank you very much. I will see you again soon. Bye bye.